Warning: this program is intended for adults of legal drinking age. Whiskey is consumed in disgust. The intent is to educate our palates on the differences of whiskey flavors and not an intent to get drunk. Please drink responsibly.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to season 3. Not back to season 3. Welcome to season 3 of I Fucking Love Whiskey. My name's Andrew Pierce. I'm the co-host here of I Fucking Love Whiskey, along with my co-host, Mr. Joseph Limbaugh.
That is me. I'm Joseph Limbaugh. I fucking love whiskey. I hope you do too.
He does.
Either way, do what?
You do. I'm affirming it.
Oh, I meant for the audience though. I hope they do too.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they do.
Well, we don't know. Maybe by the end of today they will. But we have some amazing guests here. I will let you introduce them, Andrew.
Okay. Yes. Well, we have the director and co-producer of the Water of Life film. Something on Instagram I was calling a Water of Life occasionally this week. Sorry, I don't know why. The Water of Life is obviously referring to whiskey, and it's a phrase that's standard. But they got this notion to create a documentary about whiskey, and they went and did it, and we'll be talking to them about that and how it premiered this week. We're very excited. So Greg Swartz, our director, and Tim Sexton, our co-producer, welcome.
Thank you very much for having us. It's good to be here.
I was waiting for the director to go first.
As you should.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tim.
But yeah, we're excited to be here, Andrew. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for agreeing.
And I for one, am pretty. Go ahead. Sorry.
No,
I was going to say I for one am pretty lukewarm on whiskey. I can kind of take it or leave it.
Horseshit.
All right, Thad, can you just cut him out of the stream? Just he's off the show. I think that's
blank him out. Yep.
We didn't know this going in.
No, this is a surprise to me.
Now we'll give you a chance. Maybe that'll change. Peach wine.
All right. Well, let's
peach wine spritz.
Let's start with a whiskey because there's going to be talk. What Greg just did was finish the warm up. We have a warm up before the show, something around 40%, just to kind of get our palates upgraded to the.
Which we recommend, especially if you're going to be drinking single cask stuff that's strong, which we do frequently.
Yeah, and we love doing. So one of the distilleries that you guys go to in the film is the Bruichladdich Distillery, and we love the Bruichladdich Distillery. It is just old-fashioned. I can't tell. Do you like it? It's unclear. So we're going to start with.
We dress for the occasion.
Bruichladdich. This is the organic 2010. So this is organic barley that came from the what's the name of it? The Coul. Crap. Wait, I had it here. The Mid-Coul Farms, Dalcross. It's 8 years old. It is 50%. It is from a heavy char first fill ex-bourbon barrel. And I'm kind of excited to try it.
Yeah, me too.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I know. And I see you have some classic laddie behind you there. I know because Andrew, you drink a lot of the blue bottle, the classic laddie.
It hits the point every single time.
Yeah, this is great. Oh,
what is that on the nose?
It's got like a sweet minty sort of smell to it.
Mm-hmm, for sure. You get that mint note on the nose of that all the time.
Like almost spearmint.
It's surprising that it's that distinct too. But it's good.
Because they don't say anything about using any different barrels than they would with the classic laddie or any of their other core out turn.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to build a house in this, it would, I think, be some sort of it'd be some sort of fairy house or Alice in Wonderland sort of magical. It just smells like a Willy Wonka sort of, but the outdoors, he goes down into that place and it's everything's made out of candy, all the trees and everything.
Yeah,
because a little bit of.
Go ahead.
I'm getting a little bit of a sweet tobacco on the nose too.
Yeah, like a pipe tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, I used to smoke a pipe, not just marijuana, but actually a pipe like Sherlock Holmes, and I think Holmes #2 was one of my favorite tobaccos. But that totally reminds me, I was an eccentric kid. And now I'm an eccentric adult.
I have to
what a-
ask Joseph, what was the rest of your ensemble at the time when you would smoke a pipe as a kid?
Now you have to keep in mind this was before like Columbine and stuff, but me and my friend wore long black trench coats everywhere. Like that was the cool thing that we wore. This was like in the 80s though. So that's like, The Cure and like freaking, you know what I mean? Like this is a long time ago. Like
We're not Say Anything where he's holding the.
Yeah.
oh yeah, those were all, Ferris Bueller, those were our like, all right.
Oh, this is.
The what are those little tiny cigarettes that people in the 90s would smoke? You put it between your fingers here.
Cloves
Bindies, were they
or beaties. Beaties. You're thinking of beaties.
Beaties.
Yeah.
Yes, that's this. Because I'm getting that on the nose of this.
Those were very bad for you. Oh yeah, I could. Yeah.
One of the
Yeah, I
guys
smoked beaties.
One of the guys on our team, one of the producers on our team, Tim may not know this. Alphonse's parents used to own the oldest head shop on the East Coast, and they used to sell those things. And he used to. That's the only thing I ever saw him smoke was those beaties.
There are always stories that they were like really bad for you, that they were like the sweepings from the floor. Like they had like a lot of nicotine in them. I know that, but they were, as always, like, don't smoke, like they're worse than menthols. Like don't smoke those. Like that's what everybody would say.
Well, I didn't know that, Greg, about Alphonse, and that now explains quite a bit about that gentleman.
Absolutely.
I've already tasted this. Full disclosure, I took a sip of it. It's really
me
good.
too.
It's a grain silo.
Well, and this might be as good a time as any to fully disclose to everyone that I will not be drinking this evening. I apologize for breaking with the protocol.
Did you look at the schedule? Did you propose this? Did you look at the schedule and say, "Can I be drinking at this time or not?"
I completely muffed it and screwed that up. I apologize.
Tim just found out he was pregnant, so he can't.
I didn't want to shock everyone when I pull up this nice little organic seltzer.
Tell me about the nose of that seltzer, Tim.
It actually it smells like creamsicle and it's delightful.
Sounds like a good aperitif, a good cleanser between each nosing.
But I did pour a little bit, and I am nosing with you guys, so I promise to keep that up.
Yeah, the flavor of this is very different, I think, than the nose. It comes on quite strong. It's like a little mini dragon. Like that smell seems very floral, very like light and sugary, but like the taste is like, now I'm in your mouth.
Yeah. Now I've just ground grain going across the tongue. This floury kind of, not
there's a
floral flour, the ground wheat flour.
But it's like a cereal note, and I like that. And it's like I also get, when I taste it, I get a hint of marzipan.
Oh, that's interesting.
I can see that. So, Greg, why don't we go back and like talk about the genesis of this idea of producing a film about whiskey? Because like, who's interested in whiskey? Seems like
who would be interested in whiskey?
I told you I'm kind of lukewarm on the thing, but no, three years ago, my wife and I went to Scotland for our 10th anniversary. She'd never been. I had been an exchange student, so I knew my way around whiskey and I knew my way around Scotland, but I'd only ever been on the receiving end of it. I never made the stuff or really immersed myself in the production and stuff, but we did the Speyside Whiskey Walk, which I highly recommend anyone who ever goes to Dufton, because it's like a 4-hour hike around Dufton and you drink whiskey in the parking lots of all the distilleries. It's not official, so you don't go in the distilleries. You're just in the parking lot drinking, which is kind of fun. And there's like food pairings with it and everything. And it's really great. But it was during that walk that I really kind of started thinking about this. It's funny, of all the distilleries in Scotland to have inspired this idea, it was Glenfiddich. Glenfiddich had their roof off their still house because they were getting new stills put in. And I was watching this, and it was, I was sort of watching that whole process and kind of putting it together in my mind, and what I knew and what I didn't know. And it really kind of grew out of that.
Huh.
just wanting to know more about the process that was involved in creating this thing.
And really being curious about the human interaction of it, as opposed to the automated side of it. You know, that was our only rule of thumb when we were picking the distilleries we wanted. I wanted to go to places where it was hands-on whiskey. It wasn't a guy with an iPad.
Right, not Coul then. Obviously, it would have to be Bruichladdich.
Right. Yeah.
So hands-on. Yeah.
And you know, it's funny because you go to, like, you know, some of these distilleries. Caul is a great example. You know, there's like 3 people working there at any given time. I can't remember one of the ones in Dufton. Yeah. And Bruichladdich has like 88 on site, and 12 more in Glasgow. It's crazy. And Springbank, very, very hands-on. It's funny. We went to Blair, which is hands-on, but it's a very small distillery. You know, I think they have, I want to say they have like 9 employees total, or 8 employees as well, but it's not like Caul. You know, it's littler than Bruichladdich. And I think he told us either 6 of the 8 or 7 of the 9 employees are all cousins of each other. They're all named Ross.
Family.
Putting some science in there, Andrew. Is it time for science? Let's do it together. Since this is our first science of this year,
21.
Let us science together. I'm so excited to have the show back on. Like, I really missed this while we were down.
I missed this too.
Huh. I don't know.
I already scienced. Sorry, I did it off camera here. I just did it on my own. I've gotten used to. I've done so many of these over the last couple of weeks that I can run a lot of things out, you know, off camera here. I could got bottles here. I got glasses here. I need a trash can nearby. I don't have a trash can nearby. But I already put some water in here.
Oh, it's any of the harshness in the taste is smoothed out. This is a very friendly dram with a little bit of water in it.
Yeah, all the fire. The little dragon is like now just like whatever. It's like a little lamb. The dragon turned into a lamb.
Fire breathing still.
Although there's a little heat at the very end.
Yeah.
Although I don't like the nose as much. I don't think with the water. I feel like it's so delicate. It was so delicate before.
The greenness has gone out of it, I think.
Yeah.
Tim, someone McCready13 on the chat is wondering, how does he direct message you to get your samples sent over to him? He lives in your neighborhood. He's actually pretty close. He could come by.
He could just drive by and drink them, right? I mean,
I
put you on a frame. Yeah.
You know, as he drinks them, he's going to stare right into your eyes as he drinks each one. That was
I'm pretty certain I'll be holding on to these. I apologize, but when the time comes, I'm really going to enjoy these whiskey. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
He says he'll wear a mask. There's another question from the chat.
I appreciate that for sure.
Oh, that's a good question.
Did you guys happen to discover a new favorite scotch while you were making the film? Like, Tim, I know you were already a body head.
Right.
I mean, I hate to say this because it sounds like the ultimate humble brag, but every day.
Yeah.
But you know,
that checks out.
Every day, and like, I mean, the 2 stories I always tell were we drank. There's a shot we've used on our social media. You may have seen it. Well, it's at the very end of the movie when Adam, Hannett, and Jim are getting cask samples, and he says, you know, 28 years old. What's one cask? Well, so we were drinking whiskey out of that cask that day. And then Adam Hannett teased us and said, you know, you can't brag to anyone about drinking this whiskey because it doesn't have a name and it's never going to have a name and no one will believe you. And I was like, well, you're wrong because I'm going to brag about the fact that I drank a whiskey that had no name. And I'm not going to, and if someone doesn't, if that's, they're going to change it, then I don't care what they think, which is what I'm doing right now.
So Jim and Adam are kind of famous Scotch people, and you're just talking about hanging around with them and tasting casks. I'm jealous.
Yeah, that was one of the best parts of without a doubt, it was the best shoot I've ever been on in my life, ever. I mean, nothing else even comes close. And that was a huge part of it. I mean, just the fact that we were telling the story we wanted to tell was really good, but also just, you know, having drams every day with these people. And every day there was one of these sort of like, come here, you know? Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have to say that so for me, my involvement with the film was primarily not the shoot itself, not the production. I did a lot of behind the scenes stuff, research, managed social media a lot and that kind of stuff. But we did get to go do an advanced screening of a prior cut of the film in November of 2019. And Jim came to Glasgow and then on to Germany as well. We did 2 different screenings, and being able to hang out with Jim McEwen and drink when there isn't the pressure of having to interview and film him, I have to say, from my perspective, had to have been pretty damn enjoyable. And he did bring a number of really great Bruichladdich with him as well. So that was really, really fun and enjoyable. And
well, let's put a cap on this, because just time wise we have to move on to our next whiskey,
which I'm really enjoying this too.
Yeah, I am too. I'm putting it back in stasis, and I'll come back to that. Our next whiskey is SMWS, the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. This is an independent bottler that goes and finds casks at distilleries and then makes them available to members. This one's called A Date with a Tart.
Oh, A Date with a Tart. I'm excited to try this.
I'm excited to try this too. It's a Glen Moray 35.263. It's a 12-year-old. One of 207 bottles I got out of it. It is 58.8%. And all I know about it is the name. That's it. I haven't even nosed it. When I opened it to pour it, I stayed away. So very excited.
This should be interesting. That is interesting. In a very good way. Oh my God. How do they do that?
Worm wool blanket?
I get like paint, like a strong, like kind of like freshly opened and mixed paint.
We're fucking loving whiskey puck 90.
That is a really odd note, Joseph, but I'm not going to deny.
Not in a, like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, is that good? No, it's great. And I definitely get the tart. Like, I definitely smell like when I first nosed it, there was definitely like a bit of like cranberry or like a cherry, maybe even, you know?
So if you ask the guy at Home Depot to mix up a half a can with a half a batch of batter for a tart, that's what we're talking about here.
I think it's, for me, it's more the filling than the batter, though. I feel like this is like this would be like mix up this cherry syrup and some paint. You know what I mean?
It's a sweet center.
Yeah, it's got it does. It has that sweet center. It's like cherries. It's both tart and sweet.
This was from a second fill ex-bourbon barrel. So it would have, you know, lower bourbon influence on it.
Man,
I definitely am getting that cherry, that big cherry. It's almost like cherry pie filling, you know, that. But the other thing is I've had a few Glen Morays, and I would never recognize this as a Glen Moray. You know, I would never say, oh, you know, I can get the spirit from it.
It's one of the wonderful things, because I think sometimes they go into the distillery and the manager there is going, this doesn't fit our flavor profile and we can't give this to our blender. Do you want to buy it? Like, I feel certain that sort of discussion goes on.
Yeah, man. That's one of the things I love about the Scotch Malt Whisky Society is like their drams are so surprising.
So I'm old enough to have used a typewriter. I get typewriter ribbon in this.
Yes. Yes.
Do you did you get the Scotch Malt Whisky Society's Burns Night dram?
I'm not sure. What was that one?
Sweet and savory excitement.
Yes, I did. Yes, there's a box over there. I haven't opened it yet.
I'm gonna also date myself. This reminds me of the Ditto machine from school. The Ditto machine.
The mimeograph.
Yeah. We called it the Ditto machine. Oh my God. Oh my God. That cherry is right there when you taste it. Like, it is like right there.
Yeah.
Right at the front.
That is like I just took a bite of a tart cherry pie. Holy moly.
Delicious.
Wow.
gosh.
That is so good.
You know, there's nothing like when you have when it triggers like a sense memory. Like this really takes me to a specific piece of cherry pie that I ate at an auction house in Pennsylvania with my aunt when I was like 10. There's an Amish farm. I'm from that part of the world, and it is my cherry pie. It's the black obelisk of cherry pies in my mythology. I can't believe I just said that sentence out loud.
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna say it kind of reminds me of like what was it? Dolly Madison. Just like packaged cheap I mean, that's, you know what I mean? Like, because to me, like that has that nostalgic childhood flavor of like, you know, super, you know.
And it's so tart in the finish.
It is.
The sweetness is gone by the time the finish gets to you. Oh, this is so wonderful. I fucking love whiskey.
This is my favorite whiskey.
That's my favorite whiskey too. Let's give a favorite whiskey alert on that.
This is a quintessential example of the thing we always say, which is that every whiskey can taste so incredibly different and surprising. Like, how did these flavors get in there? How does that happen?
Tim went away. Tim's probably going to get more bottles to brag about, because he's got just a little camera there. He's got some Bruichladdich distillery bottles.
I might have a few.
But we got some comments in the chat. I don't know if you guys are following along, but Tim, while researching during post-production, did any particular vintage footage stick out to you? Any personal favorite gems? That's asked for by Brit Lightyear.
Well, I don't know about, I mean, God, I looked at so much stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that didn't make it into the film for numerous different reasons. But I have to say, in the world of the impact of either finding or receiving an archival piece of content for the film, for you guys and anyone that's seen the movie, there's this part where Jim McEwen talks about his mentor, the great Cooper David Bell. And when I got a hold of his grandson, and he replied back and said, "We'd love to send you some old photos," and they're literally like in frames, like in their house or whatever. So hardly anyone has ever seen these before, and receiving those after seeing Jim tell the story and knowing what an impact that was on him, that was that feeling of like, oh my God, this is so special. It's such an amazing, you know, this will add so much to that story when people see it on screen. That was really great. That was a pretty proud moment, I guess.
That's really cool.
I think that those give the story shape. You know, otherwise, without that stuff, you know, it doesn't have that kind of historical resonance. And it was just fun watching some of the really old stuff too. You know, we found some really, really old footage and photos and stuff. I remember Tim found those really old photos of Ardbeg when it was closed, and Port Ellen
when it was open.
Ardbeg when it was closed, Port Ellen when it was open.
You know, it is that is part of what awakens me towards whiskey, is just the nostalgia that the smells and tastes can bring out, and just the history of it as well, knowing that, you know, since the 1600s, people have been refining this process of like how to make this distilled spirit have these flavors, and that it still can be wonderful and surprising, and bright and dark and smoky, and, you know, just it's lyrical for me.
I have to say, I love this whiskey so much. I wish that this was like, I wish you could buy this like you could buy an Ugadal. Like, this is, like, I know that I said this was my favorite whiskey, but this is really standing out for me. And maybe it's because we haven't done the show in a while, but I love this whiskey. Like, it's so good.
Don't you sometimes wish you could take some of these single casks and go to the distillery and say, look, this is what your whiskey can be like. So you should at least do this with some of your expressions, because your official bottlings are nowhere near as interesting You know, I've had some okay Glen Morays. I haven't had a ton of it, to be honest with you, but it's pretty. A lot of it's pretty heavily processed. You know, and like this
Most of
is
it goes into blends.
just shining. Right? Yeah. But set aside 2 casks a year if you have to, 3. You know,
that's how I feel about Blair Athol too. Like Blair Athol, they take almost 100% of that and put it into Johnny Walker, and it would be like just 0.01%. Make that available to people that want single cask expressions from your distillery. But I
wish I could stick this in a replicator and just like have it chemically taken apart and then just rebuild it. You know what I mean? Just like, yeah.
Well, there's that. You know, I have a thing for the SMWS has released a bunch of different diluents, and I don't know that I've ever had a diluent official bottling that stuck with me in any way, to be honest with you, at all. I'm sure I've had it. I just don't remember. I have 3 bottles. Well, now 2. I killed one the other day of the SMWS diluents, and they're all phenomenal. That nice wax. I love that waxy note that you get from that diluent, and there's something about it that really ticks a box for me.
I kind of want to hear the tasting notes because I love after I taste an SMWS, like because they write those poetic tasting notes, you know.
All right, so here we go. Here's what they say: strolling through aromatic flower gardens, we discovered notes of dried dates, dark chocolate, and ginger, with nuances of black currant tart.
Oh, black currant. Oh, totally. Yes.
Yeah, maybe more than
that is even more specific. Yeah.
A little darker than the cherry.
That is my new favorite type of jam is black currant jam. Like I used to love raspberry, but black currant is phenomenal.
Oh, so good. You know, it is ephemeral. Hey, Kobe is now following us. Thank you, Kobe. Thanks for the follow.
Woo!
That might very well be my nephew.
Is it?
I think it might be my nephew. My nephew's named Kobe, and he said he was going to watch us tonight. So
okay, good. Why? Hi, Kobe. It was KOB1E.
So
yeah,
that's
probably him.
I don't want to science this. Like, like I feel like if I'm gonna make anyone sign, I mean, you don't have to, Andrew, but if anyone's going to, it's you because you have more of it than I do. But unless you rave about it, I'm not gonna touch it.
Let's see.
Well, and by the way, Joseph, I don't think. I mean, I appreciate, you know, especially when doing a tasting. But if you have more of it, there's no reason you have to science it now. You can science it later.
Well, I mean, it's for the show.
I got you.
I mean, for me personally, I rarely add water to my whiskey. Like it is something I just don't want to do. It's like the distiller thought this was what this should taste like. Who might argue?
Yeah.
I do like opening. Sorry, go ahead, Joseph.
Oh well, if like we've tasted something and we put water in it, and then I was like, this you have to put water in it, then I will do it. But I'm like Andrew, I generally will not.
Yeah, I mean, I like opening it up a bit and just contrasting, you know, the cask strength versus, you know, adding a little bit of water and seeing how it changes it. Especially, I mean, we've had my monthly whiskey tasting group. We've had whiskeys where we'll add some water and let it sit for 15, 20 minutes, not even touch it, and then come back to it. And it's incredible what that can do sometimes. Not always, not even often, but sometimes it can really change a whiskey. It's great.
Yeah.
That's what we find. Like just adding 1 drop of water, suddenly this whiskey can turn totally different. And the reason that we do it after tasting it is just because you can't take it out. And sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse, but you can always add more. You can't take it out.
What are your thoughts on the nose there, Mr. Science?
The nose, I get a little bit more match head, maybe sulfur or something in the nose. In the taste, it turns more into a jam than into the cherry pie sort of thing. So it becomes like a black currant jam. I don't know if I'm like for or against it, but it's interesting.
So kind of a lateral move then.
I think it's a lateral move. It turns it into a different kind of whiskey.
Oh my God, this is so good.
Right, Tipsy? Right?
I know we have like an Octomore ahead of us, but I'm a strong suspicion that this, like, I don't know that anything, we'll see. I mean, I'm always surprised by what we drink, but I'm so enjoying this.
There's an umami to this whiskey. It's like a ketchup dollop. So nice. Oh. Jim, I know you want to bring out, I mean, like we're going to move on to a Port Charlotte here. So I know you want to bring out some of your Bruichladdich trophies that you have there and show us and make us all jealous of these fantastic bottlings you have. I'd like to see them.
Well, all right. So I will tell you guys. So, and I was actually going to get to this one. I was telling the story of being in Europe the prior November. But the tasting we did in Germany was at this amazing castle in Franconia, which is about an hour north of Nuremberg. And
Franconia.
And Jim had partnered with these guys from Switzerland to do a release of 6 bottles called the Cask Whisperer, and they are all from Jim's private collection, I believe. Right, Greg?
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So
Jim McEwen thought these were special enough to put it in his private collection. Oh my God.
Yeah. So this one, so signed by the man himself.
Oh, fuck you.
I know. This is a 17-year-old Port Charlotte aged in a sherry cask, bottled at 52.8%, and one of 340 bottles. If you can read that there.
Yeah.
And then this is how much I have left. So that's nice.
That's some restraint, Tim.
I know where you live.
It is. But that is one of my crown jewels of my collection, just because it's so rare, and it was really you don't see Port Charlotte's aged this long typically, so it's
it's funny. I have that bottle
awesome.
too, but yours has a heck of a sight more left in it than mine does. I have that bottle in LA, but mine's got about that much left.
Port Charlotte right now is like my favorite standard. Like I love Port Charlotte. It's so good. Like, yeah. I was Ugadal was like what my standard go-to, but right now any Port Charlotte, like, oof, I'm looking forward to what we got here.
And this is their it's the anniversary one. While I was in New York, though, I mean, if we're gonna bring up Jim McEwen, while I was in New York, I saw this bottle and I couldn't help but grab it because it is just a phenomenal whiskey.
Oh,
Jim McEwen's signature first release that he kind of put out there and said, "I'm Jim McEwen. I am the malt master here at this distillery, and we're going to make this something." And this thing is unbelievable. So we'll have it at a future date on the show, Joseph. But I was so excited to find this because it was one of 6,000 made, and there's very few left. So
looking forward to it.
And our mutual friend Kolya has 5 of those.
Yeah. And one of the producers on your film here, Whiskey Enthusiast, I think has 2, 3 somewhere hidden. He's got 2 dead ones, and he's got 3. So yeah, we represent like 90% of the bottles left in the world, I'm sure, amongst the cast. Thad, who was our technician, he has a bottle. Like we've tasted it, and everyone just went, we have to have that. So anyway, we're going on a wide distraction here. Let's jump on to whiskey number 3. This is the Port Charlotte. The Port Charlotte 10 they have out is phenomenal. It's really good, but this is NMRC 01, which is from a Bordeaux Left Bank distillery. So I think that is maybe Mouton Cadet or something.
Mouton
Rothschild.
Rothschild.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the casks that they aged this in. So
and you can get this at K&L, can't you?
You can, I believe still.
Yeah, that's part of their core range for now. Right, I think it's just not for long, but
yeah, it's not like a limited 6,000 bottling. It's got lots of casks.
Tim,
dude,
yeah,
I'm so happy I have an unopened bottle of this.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about.
God,
it's so smoky, so deliciously smoky.
Oh, but it's like it's meat. It's just like smoke.
Yeah, it is. It's like barbecue. Yeah.
It's hours or days of meat being smoked, like just tender, falling off the bone.
I'm a vegetarian, but like this makes me think of when I ate barbecue. Oh my!
It reminds me of Gimli going, "Meat ripe off the bone." Like how is meat ripe? I don't know, but this is it. Oh man, God, that smells good.
fresh. I mean, it's just ready to drop. I think that's what they mean. It's like a ripe fruit is ready to drop off the tree. This meat is ready to drop off the bone. It's just ready to be eaten.
Yeah, it's soft. It just melts in your mouth like butter, you know?
I have to cover it and leave it be for a second again.
What is Dr. Taco? What is the rum stream?
What? Dr. Taco, you start the rum stream if you want the rum stream.
No. It will be there. Just keep watching. We'll eventually get to it.
Yeah. Once we're done all the whiskey in the world, we'll get to rum. That seems fair.
We will drink whiskey that has been finished in rum casks, for sure.
True.
Oh my God. I don't
want to sip this.
That nose is so good.
Greg, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts?
This is, it's funny. This is absolutely like, it reminds me when we went back to Germany, the same place. We went back to the same place and ate barbecue haxen, like a hog's leg on a grill. And it has that sort of, rich kind of porky.
Yeah, it's very organic.
But also it takes a little bit of my grandfather's house, which always smelled like pipe smoke, like sort of leather and pipe smoke.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Leather's a great note. Yeah.
Yeah, my grandfather used to smoke hamburgers, and yeah, he had this special recipe. There were no hamburgers like his. Like he put he had a whole like secret ingredients. Like he put like purple onions in them and stuff, and then he would smoke them, and they were sweet. This reminds me of that. It reminds me of my grandfather's hamburgers. There were no hamburgers I have ever had that are the same as those hamburgers.
I'm terrible with tasting notes, but there's definitely a hint of sweetness that I'm trying to put my finger on, and I'm just having trouble with it.
Yeah, I mean, like it's the honey you put in the barbecue sauce or something, but it's not honey.
Yeah, it's something like that. Maybe a little bit caramelized brown sugar, maybe something.
Yeah, it has that caramelization like that, but a caramelization that is like really almost burnt, like the brown on the outside of a marshmallow, when you toast it, but it's like a very dark brown.
Yeah.
You ever make corn on the cob on a grill? And especially if you do it on a grill where you're also cooking like other barbecue stuff, and it kind of gets that, because sometimes the corn, if it cooks enough, it gets black, and it releases the sweetness in the corn. What's that called? The Meunier effect.
Caramelization.
This is a great whiskey.
Meunier, not
God,
Meunier. It's
Meunier.
Is it the Galliard reaction? Maillard reaction. That's it. The Maillard reaction. That's when you brown like a protein with a sugar.
Thanks, Dr. Science.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I just went in for a taste.
Yeah.
This is my favorite whiskey.
This is my favorite whiskey as well. Man.
Oh, a peppery finish.
Yeah. Oh yeah, pepper. Absolutely.
I wish everyone at home could taste this. You know what I was thinking of doing is like for some future episode, like we'll do someone can bid for a home kit and we'll also send them sample bottles so they can taste along with us.
That's an awesome idea.
You can get this though. And I feel like if you're going to like drop like a little extra money on a whiskey, like get this for special occasions. Cause this is 100% amazing frickin' a bottle of whiskey. Like so good.
Yeah.
MRC01 2010.
It's interesting, you guys. We've had an ongoing debate amongst us on the team for the Water of Life, but also in the whiskey kinship, if you will, about wine casks. And like some people are big fans of them, and some people just aren't. Some people just don't really dig whiskey's Asian wine casks. I am of the former. I fucking love whiskey Asian wine casks. I've had especially peated whiskeys. Asian wine casks seem to do really well.
I've had some amazing whiskeys.
Part of what makes me love them so much is that they bring the wine cask into it in a way that I don't think any other distiller really does.
Yeah, I've had some amazing whiskeys from wine casks.
Bruichladdich does those distillery only villages. You can fill up yourself when you're there. And there was one that was part of this kind of exploration that was called MNC, which is Costier de Nîmes cask. And that's I know Tim's heard me tell the story a load of times, but I bought a bottle of it, and every time I would drink it, I would dream about that whiskey that night. It just got into me on some crazy deep level. And then one of our other co-producers got me a second bottle of it because those are 50 cl bottles, so it was gone in no time. So now I have a bottle that's 3/4 full. And the friend of the film, Robert Buchner, told me he has another one that he'll sell me at cost. So I got to keep myself, because it was a single cast thing. So I got to keep myself. It's like Coul with 5 of the PC5. I got to keep my MNC strings stretched tight.
So we went to Scotland 3 years in a row. We're going to go last year, but something happened that we couldn't go. Anyway, so I have like 6 Valanches over there from what they do, the single casks they make available in the store at the end of your tour. You can fill up your own 500 ml bottles, so they're a little smaller, but every single one of them is phenomenal.
Yeah,
Well,
this is why Port Charlotte is like my favorite right now. This exactly is why.
Like I'm going to go look at K&L and see if there's more of this, because this is amazing.
I looked earlier today. There is $110.
That's not bad. It's not bad for the quality.
So great.
This is my favorite whiskey. I am not doing science on this. You cannot make me.
I'm not gonna. I will never force you to do science, Andrew. I will never force you. All I will ever say is if anybody's going to, for this one, maybe it should be you. But I'm not in this case.
I just did.
Well, Andrew and Joseph, if you'll permit me to do one more, have one more braggadocious moment. Just on the topic of having a favorite whiskey that you've gone to the extent of finding it at auction or something. When I was scouting in Scotland, in between the shoots for the film, at least that was my excuse for going, I did the Warehouse 9 tasting at Bunnahabhain. And at the time, they had this glorious cask open.
Pedro Jimenez.
And it's actually, this is one of the bottles that came from the year prior to when I went. So the other 3 that I found at auction that I have are all 14-year-old versions of this Pedro Jimenez Bunnahabhain, which is maybe my favorite whiskey I've ever had.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
so you scienced it, right, Greg?
I did, yes.
And what's your thought?
I will tell you that I almost always put at least a drop of water in my whiskey. Not always, but almost always. Because I'm always curious. I always want to take a sip, then do it, and I always want to see what the transformation is going to be. I think that I just added a couple of drops of water here, and it definitely brings sort of more caramel to the fore. It sort of reveals the ex-bourbon cask that was probably the home for this whiskey for most of its life until they finished it in the Rothschild cask. Because it definitely makes it has a much more ex-bourbon kind of almost like a regular Port Charlotte,
So great.
Although I will say it does, even a little bit of water I put in lopped the tail off of this a bit. The finish isn't anywhere near as endless as it was, because it's all, one of the things about a lot of these Port Charlottes are the finish on them lasts until the next morning when you brush your teeth. It's like Octomore does that too. It's like crazy how long.
Hey, don't give away what our last whiskey is tonight.
Wasn't it on that thing we sent out to everybody?
That is fine, whatever. I think this is actually a really good question. Graham Fraser is asking, how many bottles did you buy and consume during the making of this film?
That is not for disclosure.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, look, I'll be honest with you, full disclosure, almost everywhere we went, we were given a parting gift when we were done shooting, at least a bottle. And then we all lived in a house together while we were shooting. So that night we would go, that bottle wouldn't see the next morning because there was 8 of us, and then, but there'd always be multiple bottles, different things. So it's hard to say, but we did a lot of drinking. We stayed in Glenlivet House when we were in Speyside. We stayed in Glenlivet House guest house, and then we were on Islay. We stayed 2 doors up from the Bruichladdich Distillery. So we were kind of in the heart of it the whole time, either place. And I think Glen Alecky gave us 6 bottles.
Oh,
When we went out to our car, when we went out to our truck, David, who's their amazing sales guy, he had actually taken a case of whiskey and just put it in the back of our truck, or maybe in the passenger seat of our truck, and didn't tell anyone. And maybe that was an accident. Maybe he just thought, "Oh, this is our delivery van, and I'll leave it here." Then, in which case, we stole it.
Yeah.
I again just have to go back to our trip in November 2019, but I can tell you guys that I had to end up buying an extra suitcase at the airport because
Yep.
all of the bottles that I was taking back for me and Greg, I think I ended up squeezing 16 bottles in a suitcase. It was insane.
Was that overweight?
It was definitely overweight.
Tim, I did see the Glasgow airport. I bought an extra suitcase, and I put
how tense were you that like someone would drop that case and break all of those bottles, or even
Dude, I was nervous as shit.
But you wrapped them in everything, right?
I did. I
you know those guys. Padding. Those guys are like they're like tossing the. They don't care.
No, I added some padding. I had it wrapped professionally with the plastic and all that shit.
I probably had over 40 bottles come back from Scotland in my suitcase, and the only accident I had was a little Bowmore sample that was in my toiletry kit. Kind of the cap came off, and so my toiletry kit smells like
Bowmore.
Yeah. So it's like smells better than before then.
Yes. Oh, way better. We have a question in the chat here. Whiskey enthusiast, who's one of your producers in the film, is asking, 2 doors away, were you north or south of Bruichladdich? Were you that little near the store, or were you further down?
We were actually, I think we were 4 doors north of Bruichladdich. We were 2 doors north of the store. I mean, the crew had to drive to work every day, even though it was so close because they needed the gear. I did not, so I just walked to work every day.
Just along that little bay. Oh, fantastic!
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. And then when we did reshoots, we stayed on the hill overlooking the distillery behind it.
Oh.
I took, yes, I had to buy a suitcase at Edinburgh Airport as well, but I also had to go even to the next level of, hey, I have that same shirt. Mine's darker blue. That's the word map, right? Of the distilleries. Yeah.
The distillery is making the shape of Islay and Jura.
I have all of Scotland. That's why mine's a little different. It's all of Scotland, and they're teeny tiny.
All of Scotland.
But we I don't even know what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought. Oh,
that's what happens around this time in the show.
Yeah. One of our producers lives in Scotland, in basically Glasgow, and I've had so much extra whiskey every time I've been there. The 7 times I've been there in the last couple of years, that every time I leave whiskey with her, and there's a closet at her house that she and I jokingly refer to as the Renfrew Ladies Whiskey Society, and it has like 15 bottles of my whiskey in it.
Oh, all right. I could stay here for another 20 minutes on this whiskey, but I'm just gonna put a cap on it. I'm gonna come back after the show, and we're gonna move on to our final whiskey, which another Jim McEwen project. He started this, of course, now Adam is taking the helm of, but this is the Octomore, a very distinctive bottle for a very distinctive whiskey. This is where Jim, I think, went to the malting house floors and said, well, like, why do you only malt things to 40 parts per million? And they said, well, because no one would drink it if you did more. And he went, let's try that, and has gone to insane lengths in terms of peating, and Adam is keep carrying that on. This is 194 parts per million. That's how many phenols per million that were peated on the barley as they dried it. Octomore 11.3, which is Islay barley, so still aged in a bourbon cask. I don't think there's any hint of a different kind of cask in there. Islay barley and peated like crazy, and 5 years old. And let's enjoy this.
I believe, and Tim, tell me if I'm wrong, I believe that if it's a 0.3, it's not just Islay barley, it's all James Brown's farm, right? It's all Octomore farm barley. It's even more specific than just Islay. It's all
It
Octomore
might
Farm.
be. It might be, yeah. Thank you. Thad.
We haven't really checked in with Thad about
Oh,
any
we
of
haven't.
these.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to check in on the last whiskey. Have you tasted this Octomore yet, or should we wait until you have?
I haven't tasted the Octomore yet, but the smell and the nose is delightful. Like
Yeah,
right off the bat, I'm getting banana chips, which isn't something that like I like love to eat, but I do love the smell of banana chips.
Yeah, that is such a great note for the nose. It absolutely banana chips.
Okay, we're going to check in with you after we've tasted it. And
I do feel like the smell of banana chips I find more appealing than the taste of banana chips.
But these are buttered. These are buttered banana chips.
It also has like, I feel like this is a more subtle nose than other Octomores I've had. Like I feel like it's a little more friendly, or you know,
it seems distant.
Yeah, it's not punching you in the face with the peat. I mean, you know it's in there, but
buttery.
There's definitely the smoke. If you go for it, the smoke is down there. There's like a campfire.
It's coming now.
Yeah. That smell of like, oh, all last night I was standing by a campfire and now my sweater smells like this.
Yeah. And it always will.
It always will.
Yeah.
When I first took the topper off, there was the strangest. There was some kind of almost like really simple nachos. I don't know why, but I got like nachos with just cheese and maybe a little bit of salsa. I don't know, and now it's gone. That's not there anymore at all.
I like a burnt book, a burnt newspaper or something.
Yeah, I do feel like there's like just a hint of like a burnt cheese, like you know that crispy cheese that's like, you know.
But it could also be like a bread with like some, you know, some kind of like creamy cheese, maybe toasted bread with creamy cheese on
like
it.
a fondue or a queso. Actually, this is more like a cheap a queso to me. Like it is that creamy sort of cheese, you know, that you dip chips in.
If you ever go to like a place where they make tamales on a grill, and they burn the corn wrapper around them, you get that kind of burnt, like El Cholo in Santa Monica. I don't know about the other El Cholos if they have that outdoor fire pit area.
But that I get you. Graham Fraser in the chat says, given the very young age of Octomore, you'd expect much more smoke, but it's quite restrained. And I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
Why is that? Is it because of the worm tub? I'm just throwing out terminology. I don't know if it's related.
My guess is it's the quality of the cask. It's probably a very young cask that's going to do a lot of work. That's going to because the other thing, I mean, Jim talks about in the movie and talks about all the time about cold smoking it. You know, that it gets you the smoke without the burn. And
all right, are we tasting this? I think we should taste this.
I think we should taste it. Let's go in.
Let's do it.
Oh, that is unexpected in a very good way. Oh,
yeah, like a Meyer lemon.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the finish, it does not let go of your tongue. The claws of this whiskey are digging into my tongue as it goes down. It's like, no, I will not go.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely citrus in there. Wow. That's amazing. That is amazing.
This is probably unknown to you, but I fucking love whiskey.
Andrew, but okay, that's true. But the thing that I think you're not taking into account is I fucking love whiskey.
Good point. It's a good point.
It's winning me over. Did you ever have the Octomore
thinks I made a worm
7.3?
tongue reference. Sorry. That was worm tub, but not worm tongue, by the way. But I am a nerd. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Greg.
No, I said, did you ever have the 7.3, the Octomore 7.3? Because I don't think I have anywhere near the memory storage to say, oh, this is reminiscent of that. But I think it's reminiscent of that. This is, I mean, all the 0.3s are somewhat reminiscent of one another, at least at the spirit level, because I think they're all made from the same fields. But I think the 7.3 might have been Jim's last. I think 7 was Jim's last year.
Have you had the original,
sure
like the first Octomore? Because people talk about that. There's 7.2.
Yeah, 7.2. The 1 and 2 were amazing. Coul has some of that. I don't know if Jim, if you have any of those, but yeah, that's a close.
I had.
Yeah, I was just going to say really quick.
4.
Sorry. Go, Greg,
go. Tim. I'm done. No, I'm done. That's it. I already said it.
I will say, just to bring up our mutual friend Coul again, he did let me try the 1.1, and unfortunately, it was so long ago, I don't recall any specific tasting notes, but I do recall it blowing my socks off.
Yeah.
It's a spectacular whiskey.
We had a wonderful whiskey barbecue where I think I brought the 6.1, and I can't remember if it was Jim, if it was a whiskey enthusiast that brought the 4 or something like that, and then Coul brought the 2 and the 1. And we kept going down. It was like, oh, the 6 is great. The 4 is amazing. The 2, oh my God, this is wonderful. And then we had the 1, and we're like, Jim McEwen, frickin' genius. Yeah.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list, is to one day have the 1, to taste the 1.
Well,
if there's any out there.
I think there's
some. Have you ever been, with the, I guess it would be the 2019 Festival, the Event Horizon Octomore. The whole masterclass that day was 6 Octomores, all of which were previously released Octomores that were now that had been additionally aged, that had remained in the barrel. So we had one was called Comus +4, and then they were all variations of that. We had the Octomore Black Art, but it had been in a barrel for 3 more years, and it was amazing to see what that time had done to them and how they had evolved. And it was also 11 o'clock in the morning, and we drank 6 Octomores.
You have to do what you have to do.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's tough.
So in the chat, someone is asking, Graham Fraser is asking if we have seen the film yet, Joseph and I, and the answer is no. And I think this is a great time for Tim and Greg to tell us, if people want to see this film and want to give you money to see this film, where can they go?
Back in time.
No. Oh no, that seems like you're not planning well.
You're not selling it to Netflix? This feels like it'd be perfect for Netflix.
Well, we'll wind up on a streamer. We absolutely will. But this is basically what we consider to be our festival run, because we made this what timed out to be, in a world that had film and whiskey festivals. And we were going to debut the film at Bruichladdich during the Festival last year. And they were going all out. I mean,
what happened?
Really excited. They were going to, I don't know. The photo you see behind me, the virtual background, that was actually, we were going to do a special bottling with them, and that was going to be the label of the bottle.
Oh man.
And yeah, it's a really cool photo. I mean, I'm not even in it. We're always teasing our DP that he's in it, and none of us are. But he's a good guy. So anyway, so anyway, what we're doing is we did this event. Now we're taking about 10 days off, and then we're going to start doing a lot of club events with individual whiskey clubs. And we're actually kind of trying. We have one of our team members is kind of pairing up clubs with each other to do online screenings with us, and then we're going to do Q&As with clubs on a more kind of personal level. And we're actually working with some whiskey festivals. We have a bunch of different online events, and then we are going to do a couple of general public available events shortly after that. And we're going to do, I mean, we haven't really announced this yet, so I can't give you any details, in part because I don't know the details, but we're going to do a big event in Australia. Jim's a part owner of a distillery in Australia. And we're going to do a big event with them. I didn't realize you hadn't seen the film, so we can probably rectify that for you guys, but we're not doing any more public screenings right now. And, but only for 10 days. I mean, then it'll start up again. I think it starts on February 10th.
But for the people that are watching, is there a place they can go and like sign up to say, hey, send me notification when it's possible to do that?
Yes, absolutely. We have wateroflifefilm.com. We have a big email list. We will harass you relentlessly. And I'm just kidding. We won't. Frankly, if our marketing team had their way, I would harass people more frequently with our email list, but I don't ever get around to writing the emails. But we do have a Facebook group that's kind of, that I do post in daily. And
you can follow you on Instagram because you do a lot of posts there as well.
Yeah. And Tim and I are kind of the 1-2 punch on the Instagram account for the most part. We do some other special stuff, but yeah, we're very, very eager to get the film out. We want to get it on a streamer as well. But our distribution rep's attitude from the beginning is, streamers are great, but they are the last place you go, not the first place you go. Yeah. Go take it out to the whiskey world. Go share it with the fans, and build up the word of mouth. And
the access that you got to Jim and to Adam and to all these other amazing whiskey makers is phenomenal. I
am looking forward to seeing it. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So
we're putting together I believe a media screening, probably next week. So we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Because we did one before the event as well. So, but we were given such crazy amount of access. You're right, and no one said no to us. You may have heard me tell people that the only person that we really, really went after that we couldn't get in the film was Dr. Bill Lumsden. And that's because he was out of the country the whole time we were shooting. I mean, it wasn't that they said no, it was just didn't work out logistically.
Mobility, yeah.
And there's a couple other littler distilleries we wanted to go to. We just didn't have time. And, we were going to go to some more of the startup newer ones, but most of them didn't have whiskey at the time. They all just started releasing whiskey like 3 months ago, like Rosse and McNair and Arden.
I mean, it could be a series, right? You could do like an hour a week for a year and still not hit everything. I'm sure.
We are planning to make a lot more, a bunch of other different variations of it, maybe half an hour each. So we can do a single source each time, maybe a broadcast hour, but we don't know yet. I have said this publicly repeatedly now, so I'll say it again. We're doing a follow-up film already that's probably 85% done about independent bottling, about the unique role of independent bottling in the development of whiskey. So, yeah, exactly. If we would be done with that film if it wasn't for the pandemic, because I need about 3 or 4 more days of shooting, and that's all I need, and I just can't go do it.
Yeah, the Tipsy Asparagus has pitched the title for that follow-up called Water of Life 2: Electric Boogaloo. How do you feel? How do you feel about that?
I feel like Electric Boogaloo, that joke no longer, I feel like the oomph is gone out of it. I will say, I don't use it anymore. There's got to be another sequel to something we can.
I want to actually now turn back to Thad and hear his review of the Octomore.
Oh, yeah, Thad.
Thad.
Sorry, I'm still here. Don't worry.
Fell asleep.
No, I would never fall asleep. Especially,
he's crying. He's like, it's so good.
I mean, it really is delicious. It's changed over the course of me actually like just enjoying it. Like when I first tasted it, there was a lot of custard, like smooth, velvety, like mouthfeel to it, like right away. And then as it sat a little bit, it's gotten like the peat has really come out and evolved. But it's not a bad peat. It's wholesome. It's welcoming. It's very enjoyable.
Is there any bad peat?
No.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
I love peat. I'm biased too because I am a huge peat head. Like I do gravitate towards peaty whiskey. So.
You know what I find about this one is the peat in this is a little more reminiscent of like a Lafroig kind of peat than I've ever had in any other Octomore I've ever had.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
But like a softer Lafroig, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it has that phenolic quality that not the sort of more smoky quality, but the actual more kind of hospital.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's very unusual though, because like the peat for Bruichladdich comes from around Inverness, and on the Islay distilleries, it's the only one that does it up there, because the roaster up there will guarantee the barley they put in is the barley they get back, and that's why they don't do Port Ellen and get Islay peat yet. They're talking about changing that, but it does give it a different flavor, and that plus the wine casks they brew they put into these things, like just Bruichladdich, just sorry.
That Lafroig note that I get
Adam
on the finish.
Hannah had a good teacher.
Yeah. One of the things I was going to say earlier when you were talking about the sort of the history of whiskey and the idea that people have been doing this for hundreds and hundreds of years. When we were shooting at Gordon MacPhail, they gave us a dram of the 75-year-old Mortlock, which was the oldest whiskey ever commercially released at the time.
Huh.
And they gave us one dram, not each, like the crew. They gave us a dram of it. And so, and it was funny because people, well, first of all, my overwhelming tasting note is that it was like drinking my wallet, like old worn leather. Like that's really, but the reason I bring it up isn't that. The reason I bring it up is they were saying that when they released it, they decided they were going to try to find someone who had a hand in making this whiskey. Oh. And they couldn't find anyone. Like every single person who would have worked at Mortlock at the time this was distilled was dead. I mean, you're talking pre-World War II, you know? So.
Yeah, 75 years ago. That's
Yeah.
I think they released it in 2015, so it would have been distilled. I think it was distilled in 1939. And it was one of the last, all of the distilleries closed during the war because the government requisitioned all the barley. At Balblair, they actually used all the warehouses at Balblair to house Norwegian soldiers. And they told us when we were there that they still have people coming back, the old men coming back who said, I lived here as a teenager for a couple of months in these warehouses. And they had photos on the walls of them.
I mean, the north of Scotland was one of the key points in fighting World War II. Like, Orkney, they had the radio towers. They were deciphering messages from Germany. Like, it's key in how we fought the Germans and won that war. It's crazy.
Do you know anything about the Shetland Bus? Because that's on my medium-term goal of things to do. I'm trying to make a documentary about the Shetland Bus. When the Nazis occupied Norway, a ton of Norwegian fishermen fled to the Shetland Islands, and because it's really close. And someone in the British Navy had this idea of let's use these fishermen. They would sneak back into Norway because the Germans allowed commercial fishermen to fish within 50 miles of the shore, but only at daylight. So what they would do is they would take their fishing boats, sail, and stop outside the waters. When it got dark, they'd go in, and then they would just start fishing. And when the sun would come up, they would just be another boat. Then they'd go ashore, drop off arms and radios, and then smuggle people out. Then they'd fish all day. When it got dark, they'd head back to Scotland, and they never got caught. They did it for years, and none of them were like soldiers. They were fishermen. And I really, really want to make a documentary about them.
Yeah,
that's totally fascinating. Yeah. I mean, I just thought like a Shetland bus would be smaller than a normal bus.
Yeah.
But I was way wrong.
Makes sense to me.
Our producer Trevor said to me, he's like, well, hold on a minute. He's like, I was with you making a film entirely in whiskey distilleries. Now you want to shoot a film that would be entirely shot in the North Sea at night on a fishing boat?
Yeah, it's a natural progression.
You're curious about what you're curious about. Like, that's nothing to do with, you know what I mean? Like,
You can bring whiskey on the boat if you want.
It'll be whiskey adjacent. That's important.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, that Octomore will be with you when you wake up. The reason I asked you before about the 7.3 is when we went to Australia to shoot Jim at the distillery down there, we got someone who gave us a bottle of 7.3 and said, this is Jim's personal favorite Octomore that he ever made. And we needed to shoot Jim on the beach we wanted to shoot a scene where it was decidedly not Scotland, and so we're like, oh, let's take this and surprise Jim with it. And so there's a scene where you see them drinking Octomore on the beach, and that's what they're drinking, the 7.3.
I do remember
That's awesome.
7 Series being kind of a high point in that range. Like the 6 very good, the 7 I thought was better, the 8 not so much, 9. Yeah, I can see it.
I really like the 8. Was it the 8.3? No, it wasn't the 3.
Probably the 1, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe it might have been 8.1. Yeah, the one of them had a stupid high ppm, like 300.
I think that's the 8.3.
Is it the 8.3?
Is it the 8.3?
Hold on.
Look at my inventory. 7.2 had 208. 6.3 had 258. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
There you go. Well, maybe that's it then. Yeah,
That's a lot of Pete.
Yeah, it's a lot of Pete.
Yeah, you beat me to it before I could find my little sample bottle. But
Trek Table just subscribed.
The 6.3 I think is one of my all-time favorite Octomores.
The 6.3, yeah.
Yeah, the 6.3 is I can sit with a glass of that for like an hour. Love that whiskey.
That's the other one we took to Australia with us. 6.3 and 7.3 were the 2 Octomores we took with us.
I'm really liking this 11.3 though.
Yeah, me too.
What's not to like?
What's not to like?
Because in general, I fucking love whiskeys.
I think
I heard that somewhere.
is it about time we should
ask a question? Yeah,
we should ask these two a question. So let's get serious for a second. We've had a nice time and we've tasted some good whiskeys. After all of this, guys, do you like whiskey?
I don't know. I fucking love whiskey.
I fucking love whiskey. I fucking love whiskey. Yeah.
confetti. I love it. Hey, sorry, go ahead, Greg.
I was just gonna say our executive producer is watching this, and a few minutes ago texted me and said, "Back in time, nice answer."
Yeah, but doesn't help you in the future, does it?
No.
Where can I want to give you money. Let me give you money to see your film.
She has a healthy respect for my unhealthy sense of humor. Yeah, no, we are aggressively working to let people see the film and give us money. I promise you that.
Yeah, we'd love to do it. We're gonna wind up here. We can continue talking off the air, but I just want to thank a whole bunch of people. I want to thank Outpost 13, which is a kind of our home for doing this. And I want to point out that tomorrow at 4:00, one of our past guests on the show, Alison de la Cruz, Dela for her friends, who we are, is doing this Trek table where she has a bunch of people talking about Trek, which is awesome. And
Watch it.
That's it. Subscribe. If you're an Amazon Prime member and you have not subscribed to another Twitch channel, you can subscribe here for free. And by doing that, you will give this channel money to keep doing the fantastic content it's doing. There's so many great shows on this channel. I love. I want to thank Aaron Harvey for the graphics at the start of the show. I want to thank Cody Bushy for the bot that's been talking to you maybe in the channel a little bit as you typed. I want to thank Thaddeus Wassinger for doing the tech of this and making this thing look good. Thaddeus, you're the best, and thank you for your reviews from the sky. I want to thank our guest, Tim. Thank you for, Tim, I know from working together in the past and being part of our whiskey club. And it's great to keep connection with you. And it's so fantastic that you guys did this movie together, you and Greg. Very, very excited for that. And thank you everyone for tuning in. And I think that's all I got to thank.
And well,
Thanks
and
for having
Greg,
us.
and thank Greg. Greg
Oh, he
is the
did. He
man.
lumped me. You and I were lumped in together. It's just Tim and I
All
made
right,
this movie.
fine.
No one else had anything to do. It was just me and Tim.
I think it was just you and Tim. I think that's right? Because I mean, that's before the show. That's what Greg, you and Tim. That's what you said to us. Is like we did this film on our own and no one else contributed. That's what you said.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't usually say that publicly, but
This will not come back to bite you in any way.
No.
You
No,
have glasses and a beard.
certainly.
You have glasses and a beard. I have glasses and a beard. Let's do this.
Wait a minute. Maybe
You're
Tim
saying
and
that
Greg are
about-
the same person. Maybe this film was made by one person.
Tim and I met at the Beard Club.
Just for all those watching, they did not say that.
They didn't say
They have been effusive about the support and the cast of people that made this thing possible, because it's an amazing endeavor, and I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see you guys next week as we have another guest on the Whiskey Show, and I don't know who it is yet. We'll figure it out.
We'll be watching.
See you then, everybody.
Hey, I fucking love whiskey.
I fucking love whiskey.
Fucking love whiskey.
Fucking A.